A reading from the Gospel of Luke. On another Sabbath, he entered the synagogue and taught, and there was a man there whose right hand was withered. The scribes and the Pharisees watched him to see whether he would cure on the Sabbath, so that they might find an accusation against him. Even though he knew what they were thinking, he said to the man who had the withered hand, "Come and stand there." He got up and stood there. Then Jesus said to them, "I ask you, is it lawful to do good or to do harm on the Sabbath, to save life or to destroy it?" After looking around at all of them, he said to him, "Stretch out your hand." He did so, and his hand was restored. But they were filled with fury and discussed with one another what they might do to Jesus. My background is in the field of psychology, and with respect to research, we have a term for what I see here this morning in this passage of the gospel, and it is called confirmation bias. And what it really means is that when trying to find out information about something, instead of looking objectively at whatever evidence you have, you look for the evidence that supports what you already think. And so I believe that the Pharisees had a real confirmation bias problem, because here Jesus is actually curing people, and the Pharisees are only interested in the fact that he cured the person on the Sabbath day. And that is because they were looking for some reason to reject him and to see him as a villain rather than as the Son of God that he was. How often in our lives do we do something similar to this confirmation bias, making up our minds before we really get to know someone that they're not a good person, or they're not likable? Because the moment that you make up your mind when you first encounter someone that you don't like them, confirmation bias means that from there forward, you are always only paying attention, or at least paying the most attention, to the things that that individual does to annoy you. And you ignore all of the nice things or the good things that they do as being flukes. So, since we can see here that the Pharisees are practicing confirmation bias, maybe we want to decide that that's not something we want to do in our relationships with others. Let us see the whole individual and not just the parts that we don't like. Amen.